live.
Yay!
All right, and everyone missed the pillbug story.
Yeah,
That's Chris just
funny,
told.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So pillbugs, so they call them dangomushi, so
Yep.
ball bugs, I guess here.
It makes sense. They roll into a ball.
Right.
Yeah.
Potato bugs, I
Potato
remember.
bug,
yeah. Anything else? Is that?
Well, actually, wood lice are actually something similar but slightly different.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So it's like pill bug, potato bug, roly poly. Because I've been calling them dangomushi for damn near like 12 years now. Where when my kid was like, I'm like,
Yes.
I don't even remember what these things are in English, right? It's when I was like, your brain just turns off and you're like, don't remember. Yeah.
But how would you stat them in 5e? That's the thing.
Oh my God, I'm leaving right the fuck now. I'm leaving right now, right?
Oh man. So we've got an order coming.
Oh yes, we do. Yeah.
Spellcrow, yeah.
So I think it might still be going on.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bit ambiguous about when the things ended, but there's currently on the Spellcrow website, buy 5 products, get the 6th one for free, provided it's not more expensive than the cheapest one on your list. That the other 5 that you've ordered, and it's free international shipping for everything over like 50 euros or like $69. So I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, shipping from Poland is pretty dear, so that's a good savings.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're until the 22nd. They have a pre-order on Argatoria shirts.
Oh, nice.
So
Yeah. So check those out. Yeah.
actually, I upped it to 3. So you're getting one, and I'm like, I like both these events. I can't choose. All right, it'll be both. Fine. Yeah.
Nice.
I got you the one that matches the shell morgue, whatever.
Cool.
Kind
Okay.
of
Thank
one,
you,
because
thank
that's
you.
the starter kit you got. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Excellent. Yeah, so we'll be getting back to that. I'm sure Spellcrow is wondering because they sent us that.
I feel
2-player set, and they're like, "All right, so you unbox them and
Yep. In it, like, there's a. If you've been following me on social media, there's a crap ton of shit I'm feeling bad about. One of them is like, yeah, we got that for free.
Yeah, right.
I need to get it done
So
on
yeah,
the
we're
table.
gonna get some videos on the channel for.
I feel less bad now that we placed a substantial
Oh, yeah.
order, but still,
Right,
like
right.
that was still free. Let's
Yes.
get it done and on the table. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be fun to see what the newer, because this is kind of the models I think existed, but the starter set is new. They hadn't, when they offered us review copies, they didn't have those starter sets ready.
Oh,
yet.
right, okay.
It was just the first two that we got. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to that, and I want to see the the abilities and stats and everything for these.
Yeah, the shell morgue, which is kind of like the evil kind of dark stuff with skeletons. Because I looked at some of the other starter kits, and I'm like, it's fine, but like the bulk of the troops are barbarians and Amazons, which are already part of the Vandrol one. So that's why I went with, okay, let's go with the cold-blooded lizards.
Nice.
So.
Yes, and I gotta make my way over to Nipponbashi and look for the speed paints. Not the speed paints. What are they called?
Express paints.
Express paints. Yeah. Gotta try those out. Have you picked up any?
I have not, only because my sense of completionist was like, well, there's 24. Might as well get all of them. Calculate. That's about 150 bucks, which is reasonable.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I've already just invested in like a complete new set of Vallejo game color paints. I've got the contrast. I want to try these. I can't justify that purchase, right?
Yeah, and it seems like with a lot of those paints that do the separating and everything, there's good colors and bad colors.
That's what I've heard.
Pigment work that works well. So we got to kind of wait for the internet to digest it and say, these aren't really worth it. They don't really do much. A few of the colors in those ranges. So So luckily we can get Citadel and Vallejo here, and then of course the all the Japanese brands and some of the German stuff too. But no Army Painter. A lot of the American.
No, I haven't
stuff,
seen Army Painter.
Yeah, a lot of the American produced stuff is not possible. Oh, and Matt said pillbugs are also called sowbugs.
Yeah, that's right, sowbugs. Yeah,
nice.
Which, because they look like pigs, I don't know. Like wood louse makes sense, right? They kind of eat dead wood, right?
Yeah, right.
But also, they apparently eat anything.
Oh,
like anything that would qualify as like detritus or garbage, right? So my kid was like, they even eat people. I'm like, well, if the people were dead and just left there eventually, yeah.
Yeah, I found a possum skeleton in a pile of the carcasses of the pillbugs.
A pile of carcasses. Yeah. I'm like, where are you finding a pile?
Yeah, it was literally like it was like a skeleton on top of just a bunch of the husks.
Right.
It was like, wow, yeah. So they eat
anything.
Yeah. Hey, dude, how's it going?
Hey, dude.
Matt and dude in the chat.
I'm thinking of that Nickelodeon cowboy thing. Hey, dude.
Nickelodeon. All right. So we good to go?
Yep, I'm all set.
All right, so let's get started. So good to see everybody in the chat, and
if you have other names for pillbugs, let us
know.
Yeah,
let us know.
This is what passes for interaction on the channel.
Right. I'm sure Europe has all kinds of other names for things. All right, so let's get started. Welcome to the Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And this week on the Weekly, Highlander RPG.
There can be only one.
Kind of. Stronghold Games defends AI.
Okay.
Yeah, Terraforming Mars, you bastards. Monsters 2.7.
2.7.
Yes.
Okay.
So a slight update. The Laryy Elmore Volume 3 on Kickstarter, and which he says is the last book.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're going to get to this. If we've got time, I'll kind of tease this for next time. Bill Willingham's Fables is going into the public domain because he hates DC.
Wow. Okay. Yes. I was waiting for the.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's some problems. With that relationship, and so continuing on the D&D illustrators. Yeah. Willingham is one of the classics. All right, so let's start with Highlander Cinematic Adventures.
Okay.
So this is just, we saw a Kickstarter. I think we mentioned it. It wasn't too compelling because they're saying this is just modern 2D20. So, they wanted to make it very compatible with 5e and bring in some 5e people.
2D20 or D20?
I'm sorry, D20.
Okay.
I got Modifius on the brain.
Yep, changes my opinion.
Modern D20.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so this is a take on their modern D20. And so this is Evil Genius Games. And they had a Kickstarter for a system that they called Everyday Heroes RPG.
Right.
That was kind of it can do it all. And they licensed some very, high-profile properties.
Is this the Pacific Rim one?
Yes, I think they.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they do just about everything, like Kong Skull Island and The Crow, and they have all of these licenses to do all of these things. And now we have seen, so modern D20. And now we have seen they have. So in the past, there have been attempts. Nothing official has ever been done for Highlander. So there have been fan rules for World of Darkness. There have been kind of homage, kind of unofficial versions of it: Immortal, The Invisible War, and Legacy, War of Ages.
Okay.
But it's taken almost 40 years to get a source book based on Highlander, if that's something that you would want. So their cinematic adventure is something that they're doing in, like I said, many different properties. And so the big question is, how playable is this? It's just everyone is an immortal and trying to kill each other?
Well, that's what my question is.
Right. So it seems a little difficult. And the article that I read was talking about they're bending a few of the rules to kind of make it gameable and make it work. So this cinematic adventure has been written by Sigfried Trent, and the adventure was designed by Ree Soesbee. And there's it's covering basically the first film, because once you get beyond that, things get really messy as far as like the universe, like what the rules are in the universe. Okay. And like I said, they're changing some of the rules to make it play a little bit better. They're ignoring events from films after the first one, so no sequel stuff in there, no syndicated TV series. I think there was an animated series, no animated series. So you won't be seeing Planet Zeist or Kane the Sorcerer, no Watchers, or any of the villains from the TV show. So you are playing Immortals, and they do cover kind of the Immortal origin, subclasses, mostly focused on swordsmen.
I forgot what this is built for, so of course there's going to be classes and subclasses.
Right. And so the one thing that they try to do with the rules to make it interesting is not every fighter needs to be strength or dex focused. You can have talky, chatty, whatever,
but still a fighter.
But still fighting. Yes, exactly. And they do have a mechanic where once a character gets to 0 hit points, it will trigger a decapitation challenge.
Please tell me it's not just like best 3 out of 5
right. It's
Constitution
just rock,
DC
paper,
rolls.
Scissors. Yeah, right.
Is it rock, paper, scissors?
No.
Right.
No, it's
that would actually be fucking interesting.
Yeah, right. So, and you can then, of course, take the quickening and absorb spirit points, which you can use to unlock new abilities, and then the people at the table can just sit there, while their head is rolling around on the ground. The system is focused on dueling, which, of course, I guess the movies were pretty much too. So it has an interesting mechanic for dueling, because before each round you're kind of choosing a stat, and you have that'll give you an advantage or a disadvantage with rolls, and it doesn't benefit you to only choose your best stat or your best abilities. And so they're trying to make it a little bit more interesting, but they're also trying to say that it will plug in well to 5e combat. So they want to make sure you're comfortable, you're not stepping too far out of your comfort zone to play this. So if you choose not to play the game, not Everyday Heroes, but the game, capital G, in Highlander, you can seek the prize, which is you can do other things, partner up, have an apprentice, or there's other things that you can do in this world. I don't know exactly what.
That's always what it gets back to. Like,
you can go shopping.
Right. What do you do in this game?
Antiquing? I don't know. Yeah. So, yes, and there is a flashback system, because of course that being immortal, they have eons of memory,
right?
And but it's not really mechanically like heavily supported. There's skills that can be learned in flashbacks and things, but it's not very well fleshed out. So you're not. That would actually be one of the entertaining things, is kind of jumping in time and playing the same character in different different levels of technology, different ages.
So what you're telling me is the things that are cool about Highlander and could be pretty interesting,
right,
are largely dropped for 5e compatibility.
Yeah.
I'm shocked. I'm
Yes,
absolutely shocked. Yeah.
But it is an officially licensed Highlander product, the first of its kind in 40 years.
Okay.
But so excellent dueling mechanics and some solid storytelling, but that's about all you're going to get. And it's, modern D20.
Are we even sure they're excellent dueling mechanics?
Well, it's interesting.
Okay.
Yes. So we'll go with that.
Okay, sure.
So, yes, our first attempt. So we're going to be seeing a lot of this. There's tons to come. Pacific Rim and The Crow and Kong Skull Island. I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, like, I've come around, not necessarily on licensed properties, but I've kind of, back in the day, it was kind of like, why are we telling this story? We already have the TV show, the book, the whatever, right? Are we just telling the story again? Sometimes you want to, right? Like, sometimes you want to say, okay, let's be these characters and do this adventure to see if things come out differently, right? Kind of what happens. Let's just do that, right? So I've come around on the appeal of sort of what look like small, like,
yes,
okay, we're playing this again. Yes, sure, cool, fine. But some of them are just like,
yeah.
why?
And the fact, so there's a little bit of discussion of campaign, but it does seem like they're calling it a cinematic adventure. So it does seem like it's just going to be one or two. It's going to be
maybe.
Yeah, it's going to have a kind of movie story structure. So it has to have a kind of beginning, middle, and end. And
which, hey, after the cinematic scenarios of Alien, and as fantastic as they are, again, I've come around on the nope, we're playing a movie. Cool, okay. Right.
Yeah, so it could be, if you're a huge fan, it could be enjoyable, and you can include anything you want. You can home brew anything for your favorite characters.
Well, now we've just like we're back to like, why are we using this, right? Oh, you got to stick to the book, but you can do anything you want. Cool. So,
but it is Everyday Hero, so it's a Swiss Army. Swiss Army knife of a system. So we'll see how these are received, and if they do get through all these properties, because on the Kickstarter they had a huge list, like about a dozen, I think, of properties. So we're going to be ripping through some stuff.
Are we though?
That has, I don't know. Well, we aren't, but individuals, some individual may be. And
ripping through this stuff.
we'll see the results. We'll see how people are reacting. It's a fun idea to do, like, focused cinematic, like you play a movie, but I don't know if they're gonna pull it off. So last week we talked about 3 artists suing the AI companies that are just scraping their art and trying to resell it, basically in manipulated form. And now the makers of Terraforming Mars have defended the use of AI art. So this really sucks.
I would like to hear what their defense is.
Yes. So this comes about because Kickstarter implemented if you are using any sort of AI tools, AI generated art, you have to state it and defend it basically on your page. So this is kind of this exists because Kickstarter is asking people to do this. Right. So their first statement was, we have and will continue to leverage AI generated content in development and delivery of this project. So they're not backing down. So Stronghold Games has released Automata Cards and Rules along with Prelude 2, which is, I guess, a solo expansion and additional stuff for Terraforming Mars. And there are 2 paragraphs at the very bottom of their Kickstarter page, which they say they will be using AI-powered tools such as Midjourney to create art. And here's more of that statement from the page. So we used Midjourney, Photor, and Adobe Suites. And Adobe Suites is the ethical version because everyone has agreed. It's things that have been posted on Adobe's users on Adobe's like cloud and things, and that was part of the agreement. So people know
to use the software.
Yeah.
You must agree to this. Use our software.
If you're going to post stuff on their galleries, we're going to have access to it.
Right.
Yes, it's going to be used, and that's more of a closed system. They're not just like randomly grabbing. So AI and other automation tools are integrated into our company, and while all the components of this game have a mix of human and AI generated content, nothing is solely generated by AI. We're working with a number of partners to produce and deliver rewards for this project. Those partners may use AI content in their production. We can't control this. So as well as their messaging, marketing, financial. So they're using it in every possible way. Right. So maybe just the Kickstarter itself was generated in ChatGPT.
So basically, Stronghold Games, if that's what it's called, is saying we're not going to do due diligence to find out whether the partners we're working
just
with
may not, but it's just going to exist. And so this is in a section on the page called Use of AI, which is a new directive of Kickstarter obliging creators who are going to use AI to justify that decision.
So have they justified it?
No, they're just saying we're doing it. Screw you. No, so I think the thing that they're saying though is, this stuff is kind of built in now to a lot of tools. So we're using it either way, but it's not. We don't care about the actual software itself. We care about that data set. We care about what was stolen to make it do what it does. If it is an ethical data set, if it is a completely rights granted data set, then that's fine. So the big problem is these massive algorithms are scraping millions of images and text from creations all over the internet, kind of and aggregating a resulting amalgamation, Frankensteining it all together. So currently there is no legal route for opting out of these data sets and algorithms. So this is just going to exist until someone, which they're like we talked about with this lawsuit, they're going to keep trying to stall this, but unless there's some kind of political motivation, there won't be any solution for this. So it's not clear which artwork was primarily created with AI tools. Kickstarter asks that projects using AI have the consent of the owners of the work that would or will be used to produce AI-generated portions.
Wow.
The intent of our use of AI, this is more Stronghold, the intent of our use of AI is not to replicate in any way the works of an individual creator, and none of our works do so. We are not involved in the development of any of the AI tools used in the project. We ourselves neither provide works nor we're asked for consent for any works used to produce AI-generated content. Please reference each of the AI tools. Yeah, so they're pushing it on
right.
Yeah,
so that they have not defended their use of AI. They've not given a reason. They've just said, we've done it. Middle finger.
Yep. And
go sort it out for yourself, or go,
Right.
Wow.
So I'm expecting this content, or at least maybe 50% of it, to be completely free. Because how can you have a commercial license? How can you have a copyright? I mean, none of this has been settled yet. But I wouldn't pay money for anything that they're going to admit that they're generating with AI. No matter how mixed in it is or whatever, it's just the background of this, but an artist drew the astronaut.
Well,
it's like,
correct me if I'm wrong, but like that statement, okay, it seems like Stronghold Games said we've used it for art.
Right.
But then they said anyone we've kind of partnered with, we can't guarantee, we can't guarantee, and are not even going to bother to try and find out what has been generated with AI, right? So at this point, it's just the images.
Yes, right. And the thing that's ridiculous though is that they are also saying that they're accepting any text or anything that they're having people write for the game, maybe AI generated. I don't know.
Right.
So they're paying people for AI generated content, and I'm not paying for an AI generated final product. So yeah, it's just ridiculous because obviously up until this point they've supported artists. They have interesting artwork on the game. It has like a nice cohesive design and a very popular, very well-reviewed popular game, Terraforming Mars. But yeah, this is not a step in the right direction. It's like they don't have the money, or they don't have the previous relationships with these artists. They're I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, expenses have changed, like the production costs of doing, printing cards and producing board games is a lot more expensive. I don't know if this is the place where you want to do that cost cutting, but
but like, my whole thing is like, it wasn't even a defense.
Yeah,
right. Like they could just say like a defense would be. The cost of everything has gone up, right? In order to provide this to you at this price or whatever, this is how we've decided to reduce cost, right? That's a defense, right? You don't have to agree with it, but they didn't even bother defending it. They just said, we're doing it.
Yes. Yeah, so it's going to blame the software, not the user. So it's going to be that platform versus publisher kind of thing.
Like Adobe rocked up to you and said, you got to use the AI tools, right? Like Midjourney is standing behind them, gun to their head saying,
we have no choice. We have no choice.
Sure.
And we don't want to sort it out. Yeah. So, and this is, of course, already the big bone of contention between for the Hollywood strike. The writers and actors are unhappy with how the use of digital tools. So this will continue until we get some resolution, which I think, like we said last week, the sanity will come from the EU, because America sure is bought and paid for, so they're not going to.
This kind of feels like the beatings will continue until morale improves, right?
Yes, right. So we'll continue to cover this depressing and then, until there's a breakthrough, a legal, some sort of legal change. But let's move on to nicer things.
Yes.
So Monsters 2.7 is on Kickstarter. So why is there a 2.7?
Yeah, 2.7.
So this is a kind of an update to the 2.0 rules, which came out not too long ago in a Kickstarter. And this Kickstarter also includes the Crystal Caves Challenge, so solo adventure for Monsters. And so this is Ken St. Andre and Steve Crompton. And so what it includes is Troll Gods, Crystal Caverns, and so what they've done is, and there's some other cool things. I've got it all mixed in here. But what they've done is updated it to match. They released a kind of monsteria, like a monster manual for the world that Monsters is based on, Zimrala. So they've been supporting and building up this world, so they wanted rules that kind of match some of the changes and some of the things that they've made, and I think that's why they called it 2.7. It's not a full update, but it's
more than a half.
Yeah, more than that. It's a little more than half. Yes. So,
but like, why not like 2.75? Right.
Right.
I don't know. The 2.7 seems pretty arbitrary, right?
There,
more
there
than a
be,
half change, but not enough to be a full edition change.
There may be some significance. Yes.
Okay.
So updated rules. They expanded the scope of 2.0. So some small changes, expansions of rules, whole sections on how magic works in this setting, and the larger expanded spell list, weapons, and other lists, and then fleshing out the world more in this setting. And the cool thing that they're also doing in this Kickstarter, which I think is already sold out, they were doing a 0 edition spiral bound original Monsters edition that was published, the replica of the one that was published in 1976.
Wow. Okay.
So it had that great kind of plastic spiral clampy looking from the images is what it looked like. And so they just did 100 of those as a special pledge level, and they're of course all going to be signed. And this is I don't think this version has ever, or has, not since the 70s been reproduced. So kind of a tribute to the original version of the game. And so what is Monsters? So of course we know Tunnels and Trolls is the originally the first system that they did, and this is so there's a good description actually by Saint Andre himself talking about what they did. So this system, so Tunnels and Trolls was released in 1975, and it was D6s. It's like, we don't need those funny dice. We don't need to deal anything, and came up with a really interesting and kind of more easily digestible rules for fantasy roleplay compared to what TSR first released. In 1976, they flipped the viewpoint and created Monsters, so they made it possible for players to play from the point of view of the monster. So it's anybody, the so-called bad guys, but talking about anyone that you're going to see anyone as a monster that is an adversary or is an opponent of yours, and so human beings are also included in that. So so humans are, so everything is regarded as a monster in this setting, and so that basically makes almost everything playable in the setting and kind of a fun. And Tunnels and Trolls even kind of had that already. There were a lot of different types of kin or that you could play in that setting that weren't traditional fantasy races. They were, usually just the adversaries. So life lives on life. Everything eats and can be eaten. So that which eats you is by definition hostile and a monster. So it's a fun old school take on that and kind of flipping that around. So yeah, this is and so Ken St. Andre, so a little bit of background too, is a co-creator of Stormbringer, published by Chaosium, worked on the Wasteland computer game by Interplay and EA, and is still around. Is one of the original creators and is still around. Everyone else is gone. So one of the last men standing in that original movement of early old school fantasy roleplay. So there is and a lot of other stuff that they've produced for this Kickstarter. There's maps that they're doing as well, and then a lot of other small things that were produced at various times, dice, and of course everything is available on PDF as well, card sets, and other signed versions of some of their solo adventures. So if you're a fan of Tunnels and Trolls or Monsters, this is a good time to get that's right. And the Japanese, the free Game Book Day Japanese version of Tunnels and Trolls. I've seen that on
I can only imagine what the cover that is.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But that's right. It was published in Japanese as well. So a lot of the kind of classic solo adventures, and this was the first, and very much, kind of, following numbered chapters or numbered paragraphs, kind of choose your own adventure style, but let you solo play fantasy adventures in the very early times. So check that out. I'll put a link. The before times, yes. Check that out. And there's a lot offered there. Unfortunately, I think their limited edition of the Zero bound edition is sold out. But I think they're offering like a stapled edition. They're doing like another version if you want to see that original, typewriter written rule book.
Because I actually come around to that font.
Yeah.
It just looks nice.
Yes. Yeah. So that's how it was done. All right, and another kind of classic figure in early role-playing, Laryy Elmore is releasing his Complete Elmore Volume 3. So this is the last book. It's a hardcover book, Highlights of a Path Well Traveled. So this is also on Kickstarter and has already raised quite a bit, 300,000. So we've got about 10 days left. And this has been 10 years since Volume 2. So it's a little confusing that they're called volumes because, as I'll explain, it seems like there's repetition of work, and each time he's making the book better. So it's not quite like, it's not 1970 to 1982, 1983 to, it's kind of like editions more than a volume. So this is
editions and additions, right?
Right. Yes. Okay. Yes. Right. Editions with additions. When he released back in 2012, when it released the art book that was the volume 2, he was still actively working. So his career, there was still work that could have been included in that. So I figured it was time for an update. So this third and final volume of his career retrospective. And it'll contain 300 pieces, paintings, pen and ink, pencil sketches, and finished commercial product packaging. And there's also things that have never been seen before, stuff that was done for private collectors and things. So some interesting pieces in there. So hardcover, previously unpublished works, many that were done for private collectors, pieces not included in volume 1 and 2, but it does include some work that appeared in earlier editions, the most famous and popular pieces. Repeating, and I think they're doing it's a nice edition of it. So it wants to keep, because that was such a long time ago, and there probably are people that have volume 1 and 2, but a lot of people probably missed those earlier campaigns. So and in the previous editions, he was saying that he noticed there was just too much written text and too much commentary, and so he wants to put the artwork front and center in this one. So that's why there's 300 plates, like 300 pieces produced in this, as opposed to a lot of text and writing. So 300 sturdy pages, 9 by 12 with high quality art prints and protected by a hardbound cover. So this, of course, will be Kickstarter exclusive. After all of these orders are filled, there's no more. This is not going to go to retail. And there will be no stretch goals. And this is my final book. So thank you for supporting my career over the years, and especially thank you for supporting every volume of the complete Elmore.
That's kind of funny. When you first ran off the thing at the beginning, is like, yes, and Laryy Elmore confirms this will be the last book. And I'm like, of all time, forever. Like this is the last book, right? It was kind of like, anyway.
Yeah. So he may not be actively working anymore. So they want to collect everything, and so there's no pledge level, or there's no
stretch goals.
Stretch goals. Thank you. Yep. But there are add-ons. So things that were previously available. So the volume 2 of the black and white hardcover book is available. A leather-bound, kind of more deluxe one is available. Character clip art and color customizing is available, and also this was interesting. For $10, you can get the audio commentary. So Laryy Elmore will record, an audio commentary track, so you can page through the book and have him explain and talk about.
Hope he's got a nice voice.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but that would be really fun, and especially like looking back on his career, that would be a really fun, because depending on how many tangents he goes on, or how big the stories are, this could be a couple of hours of being able to look through his book and hear what all the highlights and kind of the pieces that he has the biggest memories of and stuff. So available now on Kickstarter, and unfortunately though for us,
what shipping?
They're limiting the shipping. So of course they will offer U.S. shipping by priority mail. And they're only going to ship to Australia, Canada, the EU, New Zealand, and the UK. And they're expecting that to take 2 or 3 weeks. So you'll get it much later. So that is, the final kind of retrospective art book. And of course, talking about everything that he's worked on, the Dragonlance covers. So his, the list of companies that Laryy Elmore has worked for is pretty impressive. So
does
of course,
Google Docs scroll that long?
Yeah,
right. That many pages.
No, it's gonna take a while here. Are you ready? So TSR, of course, and then FASA, Mayfair, Games Workshop, White Wolf, Iron Crown, Dragon Magazine, Amazing Magazine, Wizard Press, DC Comics, First Comics, Eclipse Comics, Frank Frazetta's Illustrated Fantasy, lots of stuff. Yeah, so he has a quite a career. So yes, the pieces have already been selected. Just a little bit more writing needs to be done, and probably the recording of the commentary, and they're good to go. So this will happen. It's not a risky project.
Not kind of it's still in development. Not in development. It's in kind of production. Yeah.
Right. So how are we on time?
Yeah, all right.
We're good. Okay. So one quick thing then. Yeah. So I mentioned this at the beginning. I was going to maybe tease this for next time, but this is crazy. So there was so Screen Rant covered the story, "I Can't Afford to Sue DC," says Bill Willingham, the creator of Fables. So the hit comic series, he's putting it into the public domain. So woof. So in a shock statement, Creative Fables has said that he's got some problems with how DC is handling things. So he's citing the breakdown in relationship with DC, and they recently revealed that he'd he'd been fired during the ongoing publication of the new continuation of Fables called Black Forest, and then he shared a press release, basically saying he has announced from his blog These Foolish Games that as of now, September 15th, the comic book property called Fables, including all related Fables spin-offs and characters, is now in the public domain. What was once wholly owned by Bill Willingham is now owned by everyone for all time. It is done. And as most experts will tell you, you can't undo this once it's done. So takebacks are neither contemplated nor possible. So on the blog, he had the question, why did you do this? So
but I guess maybe before you jump to that question.
Sure.
Because I'm not up on. Okay, I know that if once something is in the public domain, then anybody can use it for any purposes, including commercial, whatever. I was unaware of how the only time I've seen things enter the public domain is like dead authors, unrenewed copyright thing. I think this is the first time that I'm experiencing someone just announcing, and is that just how you do it? Like I've created this property that's mine. Like, can you just announce? Nope, I rescind everything. It's Creative Commons now. That's how you go about doing it.
Yeah, I guess that's his approach.
Okay.
So why did you do this? He's saying. So he signed the creator-owned publishing contract with DC. So he owns that property, and the company when he signed it, the company was run by honest men and women. But since then, things have changed.
Wow. Okay.
So since I can't afford to sue DC over any of this, he's just going to use that long-term agreement to say, okay, if I own this property, then I'm releasing it to the public domain.
I suppose that it kind of answers my original question. Like he has a document that says, yes, this is my IP. I own this, right? And everybody's kind of signed this, so he has the ability to it's mine now, and now it's everybody's, right? Okay.
And this may have been prior to Warner Brothers takeover or whatever kind of. Oh no, actually, it was since then. It's been even worse. I think Comcast or whatever. Oof. But yeah, so Willingham is 67 now and doesn't want to mess with this anymore. So the one thing in our contract with DC that the lawyers can't contest or reinterpret it, to their own benefit is that I am the sole owner of this intellectual property. I can sell it or give it away to whomever I want. So I chose to give it away. If I couldn't prevent Fables from falling into bad hands, then at least I can arrange so that it falls into many good hands.
Wow, okay.
So yeah, very very interesting approach. But he also stated that because of the nature of copyright law and what lawyers can reinterpret things as, he can't guarantee that DC is not going to try to come after you for using something in some version. But his intent or his wishes are that it be available to everyone.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I was really surprised. So what has DC done to provoke this? Well, too many things to list throughout the years. That's so depressing.
Wow. Throughout the years.
Yeah. So, they automatically say when he's complaining about something, sorry, we overlooked you again. It just fell through the cracks. So I guess, compensation for every time they reprint, new deluxe editions and everything of his work. It's like, oh, we didn't pay for that? Oh, I can't believe it.
I'm wondering what, because the first thing that jumped in my head was, okay, itch.io Fables Jam, right? It's Creative Commons now, right? Everyone can do it, right?
Yes.
Then I was thinking about how Winnie the Pooh is entered the public domain either this year or last year. However, the image or the representation of the orange bear with the red shirt is Disney, right? Where nope, that's not covered, right? So I was wondering, as a comic creator, exactly okay, all the characters and everything, great. What form does that take? Right? Like, what were their original looks and styles and things? Because like you said, DC might go, no, that's the thing we developed. We're now suing your ass into oblivion by using this likeness. Yeah,
right. If they've trademarked any of that or whatever. Yeah, and it's difficult too because this series was based on, fairy tales in the modern world, like the character of the big bad wolf or whatever in the real. So it's already based on these kind of fairy tale properties of these. So interesting how this will be handled. Yeah. So. The Big Bad Wolf, Little Boy Blue, and Snow White.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think I read one Fables book, maybe the first one with Red Riding Hood, right? And my guess is these are reinterpreted versions of essentially public domain characters, right? So I would have to think it is something about this specific likeness or this specific version of the character that is now back in the public domain.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we'll have to see like how DC's legal response and what they're willing to do with this. So yeah, Screen Rant called this a bold decision and an unexpected step because we've never had a well-regarded property like Fables just enter the public domain. So we'll see if Willingham is the person that can get away with this. It's kind
of already done, right?
Yeah, right. It's done. Hey, can't
undo it, right?
No take backs. Yeah. Very interesting because I remember following his work. I always loved his illustrations in early D&D modules and things, and so always followed him. And he became a professional blackjack player or something for a while. Yeah, he had a very, very interesting career. Kind of walked away from art at various times in his career. I think he's done a lot of writing since in his later career, but very, very interesting fellow. So this is very unique and someone that doesn't want to be pushed around, wants to push back,
or got pushed around too much. And just all right, done.
Tired of being ignored. Yeah, so very interesting. We'll have to find out what exactly this means and what people what we'll be able to do about this, and if people are going to kind of rally around that choice and say, okay, let's get some people to develop some more Fables. Using these properties. So interesting. So great. We had some time to cover that. So that's it for this week. So where can people find you?
On social medias, right? It's Hivemind, spelled with Y's, HYVEMYND. And I don't even know what I'm talking about on there. Right?
I've got to get I think I have a list. I got to get your list updated. I think I've got your itch.io, but I still am doing Twitter and stuff. So I should update.
You mean X?
X. Oh, sorry. That's right. Yes.
Yeah,
I have to update that. I wonder if anybody's ever typed that into a browser. There's no way.
Search engine. Okay, I'm not a marketing person. Search engine optimization is kind of beyond me. Naming something X is the dumbest move in the world, right?
Well, it's not any worse than what he named just children, but other than that,
why anyone would have procreated with that human-shaped dish rag.
Yes.
Anyway,
we're talking.
Ask me how I really feel. Right.
We're talking to you, Grimes.
Yep. Whatever. Moving on. Where can people find you?
Oh, I do a live stream of my single-panel gag cartoons, so Abuse Cartoons on YouTube and Twitch. And you can read the 20-year archive of this cartoon on GoComics. So gocomics.com/domestic abuse. And if you want to support what we're doing here with the weekly, consider becoming a weekling.
Yes, the strongest of all supporters.
Yes, patreon.com/upturntable. And let us know what you want to see more of on our kind of weekly roundup. And send us some tips and stories that will be interesting to you, or just kind of help us with a direction, because
more, less, alternate names for Dangamushi bugs.
Right, yes. All of that is necessary. So upturntable.com is the website, and then on YouTube and Twitch, all of our live streams. So tomorrow we're going to be finishing our Star Trek. We lost our Andorian.
Oh no!
So our Andorian was out of cell phone service, so we weren't able to do the session last week. So we'll finish up, and I'll post some of the artwork. I did some character artwork for this adventure, and I'll post that on social media so you can see what we're dealing with. And of course, so the first part of the live stream is available now on the YouTube and Twitch channels, and you can listen to the second part. So it's just the raw audio. Yeah. So we'll record the Foundry, my Foundry, the GM's Foundry desktop, which is going to be not a great representation because I'm doing rules to look up and stuff. But you can follow along with how that goes and see if a corporation can actually own a planet.
They can.
Yes.
Yeah, they can.
All right. So thanks for joining.
Sorry, that was not spoilers. That was me saying not having no faith in corporations, right?
Right.
Sorry.
Right. So thanks for joining us, and we'll do this again next week.
Later, mortals.
Goodbye. All right. Yes. Oh, that's right. Matt was saying, yeah, they're rebooting Highlander with Henry Cavill. Yeah, that's funny. But he's got to do that weird, like, indeterminate accent that Christopher Lambert does. Like, I guess he's from many periods of time because his accent is really messed up. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I think he's a good choice for that, though, and I hope they do something interesting. Yeah, I'm really sad that they took that stance. So yeah, going back to Stronghold defending AI, that they took that stance, because I know Terraforming Mars is a very popular game, and this is a new expansion, and they're just saying, yeah. So if they did, like Chris was saying, if they did say we need to justify, some cost cutting or something, but just saying it's out of our control is not good. I don't think. The kind of passing the buck, or that's going to be the stance, I think, for a while until they resolve that, kind of publisher platform thing like they did with YouTube and all that good stuff. So we'll see. We will see. Oh, so Matt is asking, easily Elmore or Parkinson? Yeah, I might be with you, Matt. Parkinson. Yeah, I don't know. That was the era. So I was so much in the, Jeff D, Bill Willingham, Errol Otis, that era of illustration, that the newer stuff, like even by early 80s, there was a lot of, I didn't like some of the artwork. I like the weirder stuff, the kind of comic booky stuff, or the weirder, more psychedelic stuff. So yeah, it's difficult to say. Yes. So we'll see. Yeah, no takebacks on the on Fables going into the public domain. That's a really interesting. And I saw that story at the last minute. So hopefully we'll get some more about what happens with that. But so yeah, he can't take it away from DC. So of course now they have it, but they don't exclusively have it. So yeah, that's an interesting choice. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, there we go. D. William and Otis. That's my jam. Yeah, that's the stuff that I would sit, and I'm sure, ruining the value of these modules, but I'd just sit in class with felt tip markers and just color the art in all my books and modules, so that I uniquely ruined them forever to be mine. But yeah, I love that stuff. Yeah, and that was the time. So kind of D&D got away from me at a certain point, and then I was like always checking back, and I just remembered the kind of disgusting piles of modules and how poorly it was merchandised in, because it entered I forget who their big deal was with, the big publisher, Random House or whatever, but it ended up in like the mall bookstores and stuff, and nobody knew, because the modules were so thin, they weren't square bound, so there's nothing on the spine, so they're just jamming them into these bookshelves. There's just these horrible piles of bent, wrapped in plastic modules and stuff, and it just I never got back into it, because it just looked like a pile of garbage for so long. But when I was really young, there was a great hobby store that had nice spinner racks and like really great and of course he had his own specific taste in games. So I played a lot of like Steve Jackson, like the clamshell games from that place, and a lot of Grenadier miniatures, and then a lot of early D&D. But yeah, and then a lot of Palladium stuff. Yeah, that was a great store. I really wish I knew what happened. So that wasn't a hobby store when I originally moved to this little town. There was, I don't know how I found it, but there was a guy living with his mom that had a display case, like one of those, jewelry display kind of counter, waist level counter display cases for jewelry. He had it just in the middle of his mother's living room, and he would have people come in and started his store there. So he just painted some of them, mostly like Lord of the Rings, and he had some like old Napoleonic kind of like tin soldier type things. So it had a lot of just random miniatures and stuff. And I remember, I forget how I found out about this, but went into his house and looked at this little case of miniatures, and I think I bought like an orc with a spear that was based, it was obviously the like Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings license, because of the look of the miniature. And Then he ended up renting a store on the main street and then started stocking everything. So that was my church for quite a while. I wasted all of my lawn mowing money, I think, in that store for quite a while. But I still remember how crazy that was. And I still have no idea how I found out that it existed. Like if there was an ad in the newspaper or some flyer or something. And it was just the guy's house with a little case in the middle of the room. Like, oh, wow, miniatures. So good stuff. But Mike's Games and Hobbies. And I think that shop became like a tattoo parlor or something later on. But all that stuff got washed away. All the good stuff that used to be on that little main street. As it does. But so we'll finish up the Star Trek, and I'll go through. So I got the determination and values rules like straight in my head, so we'll go through like how that stuff is used. And also the momentum spends aren't quite as powerful as how we were playing them, so they leave that for determination. So they want you to kind of role play those ethical moral decisions. They want you to role play more into that to get the re-rolls and the pre-rolled d20 with a 1 on it, like a double, like a critical success. So I'll go through all of that at the beginning, so make sure that that's all straightforward. But it's good. It'll be fun, and this will be my first ship combat if that happens. I mean, it may not happen. I have no idea which way this can go, but this may be my first seeing how we run systems and manage power on ships, so that'll be fun. Nice. But that was so last week one of our players was out, so we rolled Dragonbane characters. So we have some. We didn't record it or stream it. I had everything set up for Star Trek, and I'm like, it's gonna take me like 20-30 minutes to get this all undone, so let's just do this. Let's just enjoy doing this. So we rolled up 3 characters for Dragonbane, which is a fun system for character creation, and as Matt was saying, much easier than 4E than 4th edition. Yes, right. Yes. Oh yeah, and I really wish if we were playing in person, we'd have these awesome sheets for everything that's available for each department. But they didn't make that digitally available. It's very strange. I'm not sure where. But there's pages in the rule book. They're just not as nicely organized as these reference sheets. But in the basic set, so the Star Trek, I did an unboxing for it with not great audio, but the Star Trek, which I think is at home, the basic set, or not the starter set for Star Trek Adventures, they give you their funny dice, and they give you some really good supporting materials for running just about everything. So if you want to try that system, it's worth it. And there's a nice like Romulan adventure, kind of starting adventure to play through. Miguel says 4E was a breeze. Yes. Oh man. So Miguel, are you back? So good to that's right, good to have you back. Saw some excellent photos of Spain, not to dox Miguel, right? But excellent. But we will be doing that, and then I think at that point we'll have to decide. So this should wrap things up for that first adventure, and then we'll have to decide if we want to keep. There's many more. If we want to keep doing that, or switch to something else, or kind of because we can always come back now that you have those characters, because the characters don't change or advance dramatically. There's just a little bit of their values can be reset, and you can kind of choose different focuses. You can change focus. If there's things that you chose that are just completely useless, but other than that, the characters don't. There's no XP, and the characters don't, level up, basically. Oh yes, Warhammer, yes, character generation that are riffs. Polite people don't talk about riffs. Nice. Well, good to have you back, Miguel. Good to see. The time difference must be much better. Being in the same time zone. Yes. So it's just going to be an ongoing, a never-ending thing with people trying to save money with AI generation, and the fact that they even said, we can't trust that anything that we've been given by our contractors or people working with us wasn't generated, including text and everything generated by AI. Because I don't mean there's not easy tools or easy ways to check that, and to kind of safeguard yourself against that. But if you make it very plain that if we find out you've used these tools, we're not paying you or we're suing you or whatever, I think that would be a nice way to try to get people to stay straight and not use. And I think especially some of the tools that are available now. I think in the lawsuit they named DeviantArt and Midjourney as a couple of the perpetrators using just all scraped data, or data without consent. So yeah, we just have to start getting the being able to choose the good guys from the bad guys as far as AI tools. And it seems like, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Adobe and their weird move to their subscription service, but it seems like they're doing a lot, and I think they've already, it's already been in their software. Their cloning tools and healing tools and things have already been using, algorithmic sampling and stuff. So they've been doing that already, but it's not they're not contributing to the problem. They're not using scraped data sets. So we'll see if there's ever movement on that. Who knows? Amigo saying a game where the character can dive before even starting is quite the game. Yes, the classic. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think Modiphius has done that. They really leaned heavily with their 2D20 games. They've leaned heavily into their life path. A lot of bad stuff can happen to you, especially in early 2D20. I rolled an Infinity character that ended up being very strange. With rolling randomly, there's so much illegal stuff and shady stuff that you can get involved in. So if you're trying to do a character that's kind of straightforward or whatever, or just faithful to his allegiance or his faction, you can very easily get derailed. So that ended up being a really crazy clumsy thing. But none of the death before death before playing. So good. So some Star Trek. Yeah, I was worried that all of my Next Generation watching was gonna go to waste if we never finished this adventure. But I'm glad I didn't, because the player that wasn't available last week is probably the biggest Star Trek fan. So I was worried I may have done something poorly in that first session, other than explaining the 2D20 rules. But I think it's easy to if you have an affection for a setting or a property, you want it to feel like that. But I think Terry did a good job of playing his character very Star Trek wise. So he was a good kind of lead, and you guys did well too. I love the the kind of discussion that went on between Matt and Will's character. So listen to that live stream. It's in the it's on the channel for the it'll be number 1. So the 0 is the character creation 0 episode, and then the number 1 is our first episode of A Cure Worse Than the Disease. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah. I don't know, we'll see. You do have a Galaxy class ship, so this may need a considerable amount of threat to make the ending of this very interesting. But but I think it's the kind of moral decision that you guys end up making that'll be fun and interesting with it. And I don't think so. The system doesn't seem to be built. You'll get kind of recognition for having done things a certain way from Starfleet, but I don't think these won't be recurring. I mean, I guess that could happen. We could make that happen, but not different from the mysteries in Vaesen. I don't think the NPCs will carry over in quite the same way, but they will be planets that you can have positive or negative relationships with, or corporations that have their eye on you. Then it'll get very cyberpunk. Good. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. Nice. Yeah, and so I finally got my microphone. If you noticed, that's the one thing. My audio level on the Star Trek was pretty low. I had some kind of just drop in sensitivity from the Shure mic that I use at home, and I think I talked about this on the cartoon stream as well. So I just out of nowhere, it just dropped like maybe 14, 15 dB. Like it became barely, very, very low level recording in Audacity. And so then with the streaming, but I had already in OBS, I boosted it like 10, but it made it sound weird, and it still wasn't even anywhere comparable to what you guys, your signal on Discord. So I got an inline preamp that boosted it, so we're back to normal now. It's back to its probably even better than before, because they recommend this company recommends this preamp for all of the Shure mics, because they are a little bit tricky to because you a lot of times you're cranking the gain all the way up on any of the interface, the analog digital audio interfaces that you're using to put it into a computer. So this is it gives you a nice clean loud signal, so hopefully I'll sound better. I'll sound better next month. Yes. Yes. AI generated phasers. That's what we'll be doing. Yes, I'll try to post that tonight sometime. I'll post the character art that I did for that for this adventure, so you guys can see what we're dealing with. So I use them in the game. Unfortunately, with Foundry, when you're running it, you manage assets. It's okay the way that you manage assets. If you're not crawling a grid, you're not being able to take advantage of, I think, a lot of the power of Foundry. There's a lot of good stuff in there, but Theater of the Mind, it doesn't work as well, because you can so for example, as the GM, when I'm turning assets off and making them invisible, they still are like at a 20% 20% opacity for me. So when I take things away, they're still there, and it's very difficult the way that the levels that things are on. It's very difficult to kind of move assets and things around, especially on the fly. So the visual for the stream isn't as nice as it could be, but alchemy may be the answer to that. So yeah, the alchemy keys are rolling in, and they're starting to unlock more and more stuff. So that'll be a very beautiful, especially for playing Dragonbane or any of the Free League games. That'll be a really beautiful VTT to stream with. So we'll have to try that out for one of the new new sessions, new campaigns. Set phasers for fun. I like the trademark. Yes, but yeah, it's good. Good stuff. I'm glad we'll get back to. Well, hopefully we're not playing yet. I'll believe it when we're all playing again. But yeah, looking forward to getting back to it. All right. Well, cool. So I think we're good. I don't have. Yeah, I still don't have a good way to measure like the total running time of this stream. That's still very annoying, but it's good to see everybody in the chat. Dude and Matt, no Abyss, but hopefully now we can not disappoint Abyss again and have Star Trek. Hopefully that timing will work okay. We'll see. Yeah, and that Everyday Heroes, I can't wait to see how this other stuff is received, because that strategy reminds me a little bit of the kind of hacky 80s and early 90s licensed. The reason that I had a bad opinion of licensed IP RPGs, it just sounds like they're just gonna slap together a bunch of stuff for Everyday Heroes, and call them cinematic adventures. What was the list? I should have had that. I should have had that on the in my notes. But yeah, their little list of their properties. So Pacific Rim, Kong Skull Island, Highlander, Escape from New York, The Crow, Universal Soldier, Total Recall, and Rambo. Yes, so I guess 8, not a dozen, but 8. Yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, so 100 plus page digital, the cinematic adventures are 100 plus page books, and have the mechanics specific to that setting. I don't know. And I wonder how much, if they're paying a lot of money, I wonder if it's going to be worth it, if they're going to get the sales from it. And if people are going to understand that, this is, if you've played 5e, this is easy to just roll over into. Yeah, I don't know. The campaign didn't excite me very much, so we'll see. Just the fact that these are officially licensed doesn't really mean anything. We had a whole generation of that, and they mostly sucked. I don't think Everyday Heroes is not it's not standing out, and it seems like that's an expensive route to go, is to license. Or maybe they got a because I'm not sure like which studios own what properties. Maybe they just approached one big brand manager and got a big bulk deal. Who knows? And it seems like so specifically you're playing a specific movie. The cinematic adventures are like, this is the first movie, this is the there's nothing beyond this. We'll see. Gimmicky. Matt is saying it's gimmicky, and the title, none of the titles have the weight of Aliens, Dune, or Blade Runner. Because none of these Rambo, it's just like none of these have fleshed out a very interesting setting. And how the heck do you even play Kong Skull Island? I mean, are you just the party that runs into Kong? So like Kong is this like AI controlled nightmare. It's very very odd that they're choosing like specific movie titles. But board games have really been leaning heavy into that, both licensing PC or console game IPs, and then movie IPs. I think that every movie now has a board game, which I guess in the 70s and 80s they did too. Those long box. There was always, if a movie was coming out, there was always those stupid rules, like an idiot rules board game for it. So not that much different, but these games cost a heck of a lot more than probably the $11 that King Kong or whatever was. I remember that the 80s King Kong board game I remember playing, where you twist. King Kong's on a rail and you're just trying to climb the building. It's kind of a race, and he like twists around, and if he knocks you off, then you fall to your death. What a fun setting. And like Star Wars got kind of lame board games. There were a lot of licensed board games always, but I don't know, RPGs, that's a lot more work to try to make mechanics and everything work for RPGs. It's also saying some of those movie games have been good. The Jaws co-op was really good. Oh, interesting. And the thing, I think if they can match, if the mechanics, if they can come up with some good mechanics that make sense and kind of give you the feel of the movie, then that's fun, because you're kind of a little bit playing in that. I'm trying to think. I just most of my, I don't think I have too many movie titles. Some video game licenses. But This War of Mine recreated the PC game really well. And I don't know. We'll find out if that keeps being a trend. But just like Hollywood, they just want to sell a recognizable name for stuff. But it's good, like Matt's saying, there's been some good ones. So it's good if it's if there's quality behind it, or at least some effort put into the rules and everything. So so that it's worth it. That stuff. I forgot how that stuff has always been around. And then like yard sales and stuff, people always had a ton of smashed in board games. got new homes. Crazy. We'll have to see if that trend continues. They're gonna run out of stuff before too long. Because there was just a They Live, and there's a lot of stuff they've been covering. And it's going to be weird too when someone does a project and then the license lapses or whatever, and somebody tries it again. Where there'll be multiple same name, I guess, just like these remakes, just like the weird Hollywood remakes where they don't change the name of the movie. It's just The Thing and The Thing 2008 or whatever. That's a weird approach. Yard Sale, the RPG. Yes, exactly. Oh man, yeah. I think was it Steve Jackson Games was just pushing the Tabloid, the game. So I think it's like a card game. Tabloid headline. That seems like a product of the 80s. I'm not sure how it's going to resonate these days. Oh, the Willow board game. Wow, Matt's saying a friend has a Willow board game, and we played it. Play it once every 10 years. Nice. Nice. So it's still in existence. They didn't remove it. They didn't delete it from existence like they did that streaming series. Nice. Yeah. So I wonder what so it's just like a traveling on it's like a journey game. I'm trying to figure out what the Willow game would be. Yeah, you got to get the baby somewhere, or you got to go get the baby and. Nice. Yeah, I'm sure there's a Euro game in that style. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Germans had to stay away from war, so they did every kind of oddball mechanic for a Euro game. Yeah, there definitely is a yard sale. I'm sure there is. And the board is all just uncut grass. Super random. Nice. I'll have to look that up. I'm sure on YouTube someone has played Will of the board game. Oh, Matt, what do you got me doing? That's so funny. Willow, the board game. I can't believe they... they immediately ruined that property with those weird novels that they released after the movie. Because it wasn't, like, amazing world building or anything. It was just a fun fantasy story, but it's a shame that we're never going to get any more of that. Like, at that same level, it has to be ruined. It has to be, whatever they... think they need to do now with these properties. It's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, there was an announcement too. The speaking of the Henry Cavill Highlander, that talking to their shareholders, I think Amazon said that it is going through. No money has changed hands yet, but they are moving forward with the Warhammer 40K license for some kind of series for Amazon. But if Conan wasn't okay for Amazon, how is 40K going to be? I mean, are they going to have to push there'll be female space marines and have to push them front and center? Like, how are they going to do a series that's acceptable to the woman that's running, the woman that brought us the Rings of Power and Wheel of Time? How are they going to make a 40K that's acceptable to her? That doesn't make any sense. They're going to have to get different people producing that, because the head of whatever at Amazon sucks. Like, she really wouldn't have any clue how to deal with that. Yeah, so it'll be Eldar. Yeah, female Eldar point of view. It has to be. And of course the Eldar will be these weird featureless blondes like her and everybody she casts, these British stand-ins, self-inserts for herself. That is creepy how both Kathleen Kennedy and Amazon woman cast people that's like, oh, this is kind of my ideal. If I was an actress, this is what I'd want to look like. That's creepy. And you don't know, I mean, the casting process and whatever, you don't know how much say they have in that, but it's pretty funny that they look like self-inserts of the execs. Everything's a damn self-insert now. Every character will be either a banshee or a farseer. Yes, definitely. And Henry Cavill will be waving in the background. Yes, right. Multiracial Eldar, of course. Because the Eldar come in all shapes and sizes. Yeah, it could be really, really bad. But hopefully, I don't know, Games Workshop is just as afflicted. So, yeah, if they go really weird with it, I'm sure it'll get approval from Games Workshop. And then, oh man, yeah, then it'll make its way into the game itself and into the miniatures. That'll be really weird. But that also, speaking of Games Workshop, there was that announcement. Weta is going to do like statues, like 1/6 scale, like probably $1,000, because you don't spend enough on branded Warhammer stuff. Probably like $1,000 like resin casts, sculptures of because they did a little promo where they talked to a bunch of the designers and sculptors and things from Weta, and there was so many 40K fans in there, and now they didn't show anything, but they just like had a bunch of people rant about how much they love 40K and how like 40K, like painting miniatures, was their first thing into doing effects and sculpting for movies at Weta. So yeah, Games Workshop keeps collaborating. I mean, their licensing does seem to be one of the strongest things. It's a good cushion for them, I'm sure. When they can't figure out how to make plastic, they can just lean on their video game licenses, and now TV, and because they already have that Joy Toy. Joy Toy is doing that expensive series of like 6-inch or whatever, like figures. So they've got a lot of weird stuff licensed out. And we'll see. Fat Eldar. Yes, of course. There is not. You can't body shame the Eldar, so there will be some very, very chubby Eldar. Of course. Little muffin top coming out of the armor there. That'll be nice. It'll be refreshing, right? That's what we need. People can picture themselves as evil space elves. I never could picture myself as an evil space elf until now. Yeah, it's going to be weird. I think that's Amazon and Games Workshop is a weird combination. So we'll see how that plays out. It'll probably just be the story of a young teenage girl growing up in a hive city. I don't know. Who knows? With Henry Cavill is her estranged father. Yeah. A funny combination. Yeah, so that's crazy. We're getting, but all of this stuff, I mean, everything is delayed because nobody can do any work. Nobody's doing drafts of screenplays or anything right now. So anything that they're announcing is just, it's all pre-production and all the, the deal making, I guess. None of the actual stuff. So, and all of this stuff, just like, what happened to the Eisenhorn series that was being shopped around, that never became anything. So just things will just get stuck in production hell, and we'll get excited and hear about them. But this was actual Amazon saying we're moving forward with it to the investors, so it's a little bit more promising. Not very concrete, but a little more promising than people shopping things around, or there's been some interest or somebody's attached. Oh, that's true. No, they did. Yeah, they did produce The Boys, but The Boys went downhill. I mean, I'm not a big fan of that comic, but The Boys went downhill kind of fast too. Yeah, the first season was fun, and we hadn't had that kind of stuff before. Kind of that whatever superhero stuff. The ugliness of it, like sexual assault and liquefying people, the speedster running through a human body and what that looks like, so that kind of stuff. But the comic itself gets so like almost edgelord juvenile that I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of fans of it, but yeah, I think that kind of thing has been done better. And they can't do a lot of that stuff in the series. A lot of the weird rape and stuff that shows up in the comics. But yeah, I think the later series or the later seasons. There's 3 seasons, 2 or 3 seasons. Yeah, I like the actors. I like the casting, and I liked what was going on in the first season. But yeah, I lost. But yeah, you're right, Matt. Like the Boys is definitely not a female first super gentle, like, yeah, women can do no wrong series. Yeah, I'm getting really tired of that gimmick, because The Witcher did that, and now A Wheel of Time is doing that, where the woman loses her powers. Okay, so now she's not that character anymore, right? Yeah, I don't know why that's a thing, where the powerful magic female characters have to just be powerless, and it's not part of a story or anything. It's just like, oh, that would be a cool gimmick. That's the go-to writing gimmick. Yeah, no, but that's a good point. And that's Blood and Guts. Yeah, there were some really crazy scenes and stuff that they did in The Boys. So it's possible, and it just depends on who they get involved. Yeah. I saw an interesting heading over into Star Wars. I saw an interesting kind of video essay talking about what happened to Andor, like why Andor didn't do better. And I think it was satisfying, especially people that were fans of the original trilogy and thought there was something there with Rogue One that they could have done better. But they were saying that they explored a lot of things that we hadn't seen before, like a heist in the Star Wars universe, a prison break, those sorts of things. But it was still the same setup of Rebels versus Empire, and it was hard to get anybody excited about that it was already saw the sequel trilogies. I was like, okay, I don't want to see any more of this. So it didn't stand out as like innovative because it was that same setting. But that's that was what was good about it for me. But I thought that was an interesting defense, and their hope for fixing Star Wars is that someone will come up with an interesting kind of fresh take in that world. That's hopefully not Rian Johnson. But yeah, I don't know. It's not going to attract a lot of people. Because I guess all of these properties now need to rely on not the fan base, but the bring over normies and everything to watch. Kind of like Game of Thrones earlier seasons, it just attracted a lot of people that would never watch fantasy shows. Yeah, so who knows? But I hope the second season of Andor is good. Everything's frozen though right now, so who knows when we'll see any of it. But what are we getting? But yeah, I realized just last night what a total mark I am, because I saw that trailer for Phantom Liberty, the expansion for Cyberpunk 2077, the game, the PC console game, and I'm right back in it, like just that same way that they got the game hyped before and then had such a shitty release. That trailer's awesome. That Idris Elba kind of like little story trailer that they did for that. The setting looks really fun. It looks almost like an Escape from New York kind of thing, only set in whatever city that is, the Night City, the main city of Cyberpunk. So yeah, I'm all in. I can't wait for that to come out. That sucks, but I'm right in the middle of a Starfield, so it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be a day one download. But I was hyped again. They got me again. So simple. Yeah, just wave the shiny keys in front of my face. I'm like, oh, that's it. It's back. Miguel commiserates, yes. Or empathizes, I guess. Yeah, so we'll see. But I still am interested in once the 2077 source book comes out, because I played that enough that I know that well. Yeah, I don't have to learn that setting or anything. So I just have to learn the mechanics of Cyberpunk Red, and then that would be fun to play in. Although it may not, it may not be fun to play in if it's not a fun system. I don't know what they've changed or what they've done, if it's more or less playable or anything with this new iteration. But I like that setting. So maybe like a rules light, finding like a good rules light Cyberpunk system like Cyborg would be fun, because we can play in any setting we want. Nice. Yeah. So we will see all this stuff, this potential stuff. All right. Well, let's wrap it up for this week. But thanks everyone for hanging in there in the chat. And for once, I'm reading the chat as you're writing them, and they're coming up. There probably is a little bit of a delay. But instead of going back and reading stuff that's not even visible. Oh, I totally missed though Miguel's kinky sex comment. That's right. Let's not forget the Eldar will be into all that kinky sex that we all know. How that ended the first time around. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll see. They're gonna really screw it up, and it doesn't even matter because Games Workshop's gonna get paid, so they probably don't even care how their stuff is represented. I mean, if that animation that they do is any sign of like how little they care about those IPs, or the quality, of stuff using their IP, and those mobile games and stuff, yeah, they just want that check. They just want to put that in the balance on the sheets for that quarter. All right. So everyone, take care. And so the audio for this will be available on the Patreon RSS feed. And thank you for anybody listening that's a member or a patron. Really appreciate your support. And you make this all possible. So tune in tomorrow about this time for the second part of Star Trek and find out how our crew handles the strange predicament of Fosterian 2. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.